Max Verstappen's woeful luck on the Nordschleife in 2026 continued with a heartbreaking blow while on course to win the Nurburgring 24 Hours on his debut. Verstappen might be partly using the Nurburgring as a glorious distraction from a version of F1 he's been hating this year, but make no mistake, he has been tirelessly working for months to achieve one clear goal: to win on his Nurburgring 24 debut. And it looked like he and his teammates Dani Juncadella, Auer and Jules Gounon had done absolutely everything they needed to do behind the wheel. But it all went horribly wrong just 2 laps into Juncadella's late Sunday morning stint, Juncadella having taken over from Verstappen with less than 4 hours to go. Juncadella received an ABS warning which he tried to nurse, but vibrations aboard the Windward Racing run Mercedes intensified, and Juncadella had to bring it back into the pits for an unscheduled pit stop at the end of his 3rd lap. The car was wheeled back into the garage, where driveshaft damage was diagnosed. There was no quick fix either, torpedoing any chance of the car finishing in the top 10, let alone sailing along to a victory or a podium. Juncadella was visibly distraught in the cockpit after the quartet of drivers had looked so well on course for a dream victory. The team managed to get the car back out for the final couple of laps of the race with Juncadella at the wheel to ensure it took the finish, albeit 21 laps down in 38th place. It continues a woeful run of luck for Verstappen on the Nordschleife in 2026, with him having already lost multiple victory chances. Team Verstappen finished first in NLS2 on the road in March but was disqualified from victory over an operational tyre error, while Verstappen lost victory in NLS5 when the car was struck by a splitter issue. That rotten luck continued with the most painful of all heartbreak at the 24-hour race that Verstappen and his team had put so much preparation into. Their misfortune handed victory to the sister number 80 Mercedes, driven by Mauro Engel, Lucas Stoltz, Fabian Schiller and Maxime Martin. The incident followed some spellbinding Verstappen overtakes, some frightening near misses, and a clash between the Mercedes teammates, as we learned plenty from being at the Nurburgring 24 Hours. This would have been a well-earned first Nürburgring win for Juncadella, Auer and Gounon too. They all played their part brilliantly, dealing with the added pressure of sharing a car with Max Verstappen and avoiding major mistakes. But it was Verstappen who stood out among the 4-driver lineup with a pair of double stints that put the Verstappen entry into such a strong position for victory. Even by his astronomically high Nürburgring standards, this felt like another level. It didn't start that way, however, as Verstappen had an initially shaky beginning to his first stint. He briefly went airborne over a bump and touched the barrier at Flansgarten, narrowly avoiding a major incident that could have extinguished his victory bid already. It led to a surprising admission from Verstappen that he'd simply lost concentration. But Verstappen gathered himself and pulled off the kind of charge we've become accustomed to him making on the Nürburgring, with standout moves aplenty on his way from 10th to 1st early in the race. There was an opportunistic dart past Christian Engelhardt when he made a small error in his Lamborghini Huracan, and a jaw-dropping on-the-grass overtake on the number 47 Mercedes of Jesse Krohn. Then a beautifully timed dive down the inside of Ian Chan Govan in his striking number 911 Grello Porsche at turn 1 of the Grand Prix circuit took him into the net race lead. The Windward Racing team that operates the Verstappen car got its tyre call spot on during several rain showers, as his teammates took turns at the wheel. They were swapping the lead with the sister number 80 Mercedes, but when Verstappen returned to the car in the night, he once again made the difference. That's despite Verstappen only having a single lap of experience of driving the Nordschleife in the dark prior to the race. But like so many of his Nordschleife firsts, Verstappen immediately looked like a Nordschleife veteran when he was chasing down actual veteran Engel in the number 80 Mercedes. Verstappen made a decisive move around the outside on the run through Tiergarten to take the lead, surviving subsequent side-by-side contact when Engel tried to take it back. There didn't appear to be any consequences from that, as the failure would occur several hours later. Verstappen bolted clear thereafter, so much so that by the end of that double night stint, he had pulled nearly half a minute clear of the sister Mercedes, having regularly set fastest sector times of the entire race so far, despite it being his first proper real-world night racing stint. While his teammates had stabilised the gap and yo-yo between first and second, Verstappen was impressively able to break clear, to a devastating extent that none of his teammates were able to. The way had been cleared for a Mercedes 1-2 because there were so many casualties among the top class in the first third of the race, for this was a race filled with heartbreak. Team Verstappen was joined by 40 other crews in the top class, but many of the favourites didn't take long to hit trouble. Take the front row starting Red Bull-backed team-apt Lamborghini Huracans for example. Mirko Bortolotti started number 84 Lamborghini from pole at the rolling start, but almost immediately lost the lead to a blinding start from Marco Mappali in the sister number 130 car. That turned out to have been a little bit too blinding, as Mapelli was slapped with a 32-second time penalty for a jump start, while Bortolotti made minor contact with Juncadella in the Team Verstappen entry. It looked fairly innocuous at the time as Bortolotti held the position, but by the time he made it to the final chicane on the Grand Prix circuit, his left rear tyre exploded following an evident puncture. That took two big hitters out of the picture immediately, and another thorn in Mercedes' side was eliminated a few hours later. Kevin Estre in the Grello Porsche was cutting into Gounon's lead aboard the Team Verstappen entry when Estre encountered oil on track that sent his Porsche backwards into the barrier. He sustained race-ending damage, as did Arjun Maini in the number 64 Ford Mustang, with a similar incident just moments later having slipped on the same oil patch. Then there was Verstappen's previous Nurburgring sparring partner Christopher Haas's Audi, which was eliminated when Alexander Sims drove it into the back of the number 47 Mercedes, an unfortunate incident not helped by an inconsistent code 60 signal that race control admitted was a mistake. The defending race-winning number 1 BMW had its race ruined by a recurring fueling issue that eventually proved terminal. Once Verstappen had forced his way past Engel in the sister number 80 Mercedes, Engel's teammate Schiller suggested that battle had been frozen, in the context of ensuring Mercedes got its first Nürburgring 24 Hours victory in a decade. So all of Team Verstappen's rivals had been neutralised before it too found out why no lead is ever comfortable on the Nordschleife. Everything Verstappen has done on the Nürburgring so far has all been leading to this one 24-hour race, but he isn't going to stop there. He's spoken previously of his ambition to race at Le Mans, but in terms of future Nürburgring appearances, ahead of the weekend Verstappen declared, "This is something I want to do every single year with one car or multiple cars." Ironically, he was asked just moments before his team's disaster whether he'd personally be back at the wheel next year. He says he'd like to be, but it's schedule dependent. You have to imagine Verstappen might now fancy a bit of revenge too, given the unfinished business this creates. He and his teammates aren't the first deserving winner of this race to be denied, but that will only make it more celebrated if and when he does win in the future. But regardless of Verstappen's own driving plans, he's clear he wants to create a lasting legacy for other drivers on the ladder. So Verstappen's GT project isn't just a nice distraction from an F1 he's fallen out of love with, he's keen to create opportunities for sim racers to go into real world racing. That's been clear from the start, as Verstappen made his GT3 debut last October in a Ferrari he shared with his sim racing teammate Chris Lullum. Verstappen's team has supported Lullum in forging a successful career in GT racing, Lullum having previously had to abandon his real-world racing ambitions for financial reasons. Lullum wasn't part of Verstappen's Nürburgring 24 Hours team, but he was racing in a Mercedes with Pro Sport instead, running a solid race before his own team's late dramas, splitter damage, cost him a top 10 finish. Also making his Nürburgring 24 Hours debut was Thierry Vermeulen in the number 45 Kondo Racing Ferrari. He's the son of Verstappen's manager Raymond, so Team Verstappen was well represented beyond the number 3 entry, even if Vermeulen suffered an early end too when he speared into the barriers while trying to negotiate past a Porsche Cayman GT4 car. So it was a painful result for Team Verstappen and all of his extended racing family, but Max once again demonstrated his supreme versatility, surpassing his already sky-high Nürburgring benchmark even in defeat, and ensuring if he does return, there's zero doubt he has everything he needs to win a race he's helped shine a well-deserved spotlight on.